Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this presentation, we are going to make a paper summary for a paper titled Organic Shoppers' Involvement in Organic Foods, Self and Identity by Yoon-hee Kim from University of McKendree, Illinois, USA. In this slide, we are looking at the abstract of the paper. The purpose of the paper is to understand how identities drive customer values and attitudes toward organic foods and satisfaction, all of which influence the word of mouth. A total of 512 responses to a survey of the organic food customers were completed and used for data analysis. The introduction of the paper starts by reviewing the status of the market of the organic food, which is the fastest growing sector of the American food marketplace. The growth of the organic food market is also associated with the rise of the green and sustainable market concepts, because organic foods are produced using the principles of conservation of oil and water to enhance environment for future generations. Many studies have found that consumers who buy organic food have different beliefs and values for the environment and for the health and for the physical and mental well-being. The organic food shoppers or buyers, they have personal health concerns, and they have also socially responsible consumer behavior, which means that they care about the society and about the environment and the impact of their consumer behavior on others and on the environment and on the society. More and more organic and natural food supermarket chains have emerged, and large US grocery chains like Walmart and Kroger have offered sections for organic food. Amazon now owns a whole food market and used the media to change the perception of organic food prices. The high prices of the organic food has been the major obstacle for consumers to buy organic food. However, studies show that the consumers of the organic food are willing to pay more to have the benefits of the organic food on the health. This paper that we are reviewing is examining the antecedents of health and social responsibility and relates these values to the attitude of the organic food shoppers. It depends on the identity theory, both social and role identity, to examine the impact of the identity on forming the attitude towards health and towards the society, and subsequently towards to organic food buying. Also, this study examines the satisfaction and word of mouth of organic food shoppers and how these outcomes are moderated by the involvement and by the mass media. Starting with the literature review, let's start by defining the self and the identity. The self refers to how individuals identify themselves. The self actually is constructed by two concepts: the I and the me. The I is the subjective meaning of the self that influences the society, and the me is the objective meaning of the self as structured by society. In other words, the I is how do I see myself, and the me, how do others see me. If we talk about the identity theory states that there are two dimensions for the identity: social identity and role identity. Social identity is concerned with the effect of societies on identity and behavior, and role identity centers on the roles that people play in different social groups. The social identity is defined as the individual's knowledge that he belongs to a certain social groups together with some emotional and value significance to him of this group membership. While the role identity is defined as the character and the role that an individual devises for himself as occupant of a particular social position. The in group offers the individual stability, meaning, and directions, and encourages a positive health and well being. On the other hand, if the group doesn't value health promotion, this group can be encouraging a negative outcome. This leads us to the hypothesis that we are going to construct our conceptual model from, which is that consumers with a strongly defined social identity and role identity will demonstrate a higher level of health consciousness. In other words, the people who have identified themselves as member of a group that is health, that is promoting health consciousness, and they have an active role to play in this group, will have higher levels of health consciousness. Socially responsible behaviors such as improving the environment and animal welfare by reducing environmental damage are based in environmental and ethical claims. Previous studies have found a relationship between ethical self-identity and ethical consumer choice of organic food. Also, social identity has a positive relationship to green consumption. This leads us to the hypothesis number 2, which is consumers with strongly defined social identity and role identity will demonstrate higher levels of socially responsible consumer behavior. Health consciousness is the degree to which health concerns are integrated into a person's daily activities. Consumers who are health conscious are aware and concerned with their well being and are motivated to improve and maintain their health and quality of life. They also want to prevent ill health by engaging in healthy behaviors and being conscious of their health. Health conscious consumers have a positive attitude toward benefits of health and aware of the importance of nutrition. This leads us to the hypothesis number 3, which is health consciousness positively influences attitudes towards organic food. Socially conscious customers are the consumers aware of the importance of environment and behave to save it. Many studies have found that organic agriculture production benefits the environment. There is plenty of evidence showing that environmentalism and ecological motives have a significant influence on attitudes toward organic foods. This leads us to the hypothesis number 4, that socially responsible consumer behavior positively influences attitudes toward organic foods. Attitudes toward organic foods, satisfaction, and word of mouth. The theory of reasoned action illustrates how attitudes translate into behavior, intentions, and then into actual behavior. Since organic shoppers come from a similar socio-economic background and have similar reasons to buy organic foods, Many of them are likely to have family and friends who are also organic shoppers. In addition, 99% of these shoppers tend to shop at specialty shops, which means that they have more chances to interact with other organic shoppers and thus exposed to word of mouth. This leads us to the hypothesis number 5 and 6, which are the more positive is the attitudes toward organic foods, the higher is the customer satisfaction. And number 6 is the more positive is customer satisfaction, the more positive is word of mouth. In this part, we are examining the moderating uh, variables between the customer values and attitudes. We have first involvement. Felt involvement is a consumer overall subjective feeling of personal relevance. Studies found that on average, organic shoppers are well educated and have professional status. Moreover, most organic shoppers are willing to pay a premium for organic foods. This leads us to the seventh hypothesis, which is with a higher level of organic foods involvement, consumer health consciousness and socially responsible consumer behavior will have a stronger positive effect on attitudes towards organic food. This will be uh, demonstrated in a more clear way in a graph that is going to be displayed in a couple of slides. Here we can see the second moderating factor, moderating variable, which is the mass media. Organic shoppers seek information and they want to be knowledgeable about how organic production is different from conventional production. Thus, organic shoppers are more likely to accept information about health and organic products. Mass media communicate with consumers through advertising on radio networks, newspapers, magazines, and online. In this way, media that may shape consumers' perception of products. This leads us to the eighth hypothesis, which is with greater exposure to mass media on organic food, consumers' health consciousness and socially responsible consumer behavior will have a stronger positive effect on attitudes toward organic foods. As you can see here, this conceptual framework is actually summarizing the variables or factors that we are examining. Here you can see the social identity and the role identity, the health awareness and socially responsible consumer behavior, and the hypothesis here that social identity and role identity have a positive impact in forming health awareness or consciousness. And this is, as you can see, H1A and H1B. If we move to the socially responsible consumer behavior, we assume that is formed also positively from social identity and role identity through H2A and H2B. Then we have the third hypothesis, which examines the relationship between health awareness and attitude toward organic food, assuming that the rise of the health awareness positively impacting the attitude toward organic food, and H4 is assuming that socially responsible consumer behavior will positively impact the attitude toward organic foods. And as you can see here, the relationship between health awareness and attitude, and also the relationship between socially responsible consumer behavior and attitude, both relations are moderated by the involvement and the mass media through H7A, H7B, H8A, and H8B. Then we have the attitude toward organic food, which we assume that it is positively contributing to the satisfaction. This is the fifth hypothesis. And then that the higher the satisfaction, the more positive the word of mouth is, which is hypothesis number 6. As you can see from this table, we are summarizing the results of more than 500 responses to a survey that was performed mainly on people who are systematically consuming and shopping for organic food. And as you can see, not all the hypotheses that were presumed were proven to be correct. As you can see here, there are supported hypotheses and there are not supported hypotheses. In the next section, we are going to discuss these results. In this part, we are discussing the results that we have obtained. The results support that strongly defined social identity and role identity are significant antecedents of health consciousness and socially responsible consumer behavior. Organic shoppers see themselves in a different social group, and their social roles are important to them. They see themselves as different from others who are not organic shoppers in terms of their beliefs and values. They are not only concerned with their personal health, but also with others by socially responsible consumer behavior. They like to think of themselves as organic shoppers. The positive relationship was found between organic shoppers' main values, which are the health consciousness and socially responsible consumer behavior, and attitude toward organic food. In other words, the more health conscious the consumer is, and the more socially responsible the consumer behavior is, the more positive attitude to organic food. The study has also provided evidence that organic shoppers' involvement has separate effect on customer values and attitudes. If you remember, in the conceptual framework, we put an hypothesis that the relationship between the health conscious and socially responsible consumer behavior from one hand and the attitude from the other hand is moderated by the involvement. That was our hypothesis. The results say a different thing, which is that organic shoppers are highly involved with organic food. Their health conscious has more positive influence on their attitude for organic food, while the socially responsible consumer behavior and its relation to the attitude toward organic food was not really impacted by the level of involvement. If you remember also, we put the same hypothesis for mass media, saying that the mass media moderates the relation between health consciousness and attitude toward organic food, and also has the same effect between socially responsible consumer behavior and attitude toward organic food. The results have actually shown that mass media did not influence this relationship and did not moderate this relationship, neither between socially responsible consumer behavior and attitude, nor between health conscious and attitude. Thanks a lot and for giving me this chance of representing this paper summary to you. I hope it was useful and beneficial to all audience. Thank you.